community is going to come up with an idea of what direction that we need to move forward. With that said, let's put our hands together for Attorney Andrea Barnes, one of the board members for 227 is here. Thank you. So at this point, we have about 30 or so minutes left. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns that I can walk around with the mic?
Hi, my name is Holly Fingerly. Some of you may know me. I am, I guess, community organizer, volunteer, currently unemployed. So I've got no ties, but I've recently become politically active with this new presidential administration. And I'm very interested in consolidation, but I would like to do it for 227 because I have 6 taxing bodies on my bill. So, and I really want the conversation to be not just what can we do to save Rich East. I grew up in the area, just some information about me. I was 2 weeks old. My parents researched where to move. My brother was black. We were born in Peoria. There was KKK. They said, where can we go that's more friendly? They said Park Forest. The co-ops. Couldn't afford the co-ops. We moved into one of the first houses in Richmond Park. 2 weeks old. I'm 51. 21 years in Richmond Park, 10 years in Madison, Rich South grad, married a Rich Central grad, 19 years in Olympia Fields. My first memory is the library, Park Forest Library, Aqua Center. I've got sentimental feelings about Freedom Hall. I've got ties to Park Forest. That being said, I want to save the Southland. My first job was Lincoln Mall. It kills me to see that. My husband was Rich Central. My son, I homeschooled after Arcadia. Arcadia was a fabulous school, and when he was going to go to Illinois, saw all the turnover, saw the drop in test scores, looked at Huth. I went to Huth, and I had a miserable experience. All of my friends, when I went to Rich South, they went to East. They went to Central. I knew nobody. They were from 159. All the people from 159 knew each other. One of the benefits, I think, socially for that time in your life, junior high and high school, to be surrounded with your friend, not to split the community. So that being said, I started a Facebook group called Save Our Southland, SOS, in parentheses, schools. My idea is that the Lincoln Way community would join. The focus is going to be just 227 and these 6 options, sharing information, because I've been frustrated with the lack of information on the district's website. Sharing videos, sharing articles, sharing newspaper clips, sharing resources, educational articles. My mom was a librarian in District 162 for 30 years. I was a bank examiner, economics major, tax preparer, commercial construction office manager. That's my professional background. So my agenda is, I don't want to lose the economic engines in any of these towns. I want to save us all. So I don't have an agenda. Please join this closed Facebook group. I made it closed because I don't want people to come in, lurk, take a screenshot. I want to know who's in the room. So that's why it's closed. So please join Save Our Schools, SOS, and let's move forward. I'm in a panic because somebody I joined all of these Facebook groups, as many as I can, and in a panic because I noticed that the acquisition date says summer of 2019. And after hearing some of their lessons and them saying we don't need a referendum, the clock is ticking. That thought exchange portal is only open for another 9 days, I think. So I'm hoping we can push for the best information we can get to make the best decision for our community.
Thank you. I do want to acknowledge we do have our basketball coach here, the head men's basketball coach. Can we put our hands together for Mr. Jameer Stoops? He's back there with his legendary basketball coach.
Hi, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Sue Blatchford. My question, actually, and I don't know who can answer this, but do we have legal recourse to stop 227 from acquiring Lincoln Way North, which wouldn't require us to have a voter referendum? Is there anything that we can do to stop this train?
A stay, but you need to think state, we can jump on it. My understanding is the 161 communities already done that and is prepared to file legal action because their lawyers are saying they would need a referendum. And the other thing is I don't know, I'm just getting up to speed because I have to say I was complacent. I did research for candidates and vote, but I didn't start going to board meetings until this year for schools. $575,000 in lawsuits, the two big lawsuits, District 27 was paid out. We do not want to be in that situation again. This is going to be litigated. And to be honest, if they make any decisions on those 6 options, I think it's negligent of the board to move forward with this information. We don't have that information to pick one of those options.
Thank you again, Holly. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So, Steve, I thank you again for coming. And Lori, we talked a little bit on Facebook. But one part that we didn't get into on Facebook, did I understand you to say that the light fixtures and lockers and everything have been stripped from that school?
That's, yes.
So we are looking at purchasing a school that is not moving ready.
Not all, but
Not all.
And we have yet to make a formal letter of any kind from what you can find, correct?
according to our superintendent.
And
yes.
161 has made formal, whatever, letters of formality, as we talk, and has started a study and has done all this to purchase that school instead.
Well, yes, so it's based on the feasibility results themselves. As soon as we find out feasibility, which I'm very confident of, then we can move forward with the purchase of the school. And we even know that there's probably millions of dollars we still need to put back into the school that were stripped out back when they closed the school.
Okay, so my point has been, for all of you that see me on Facebook complaining a lot, my point has been that why is 227 even bringing this up as an option? When there is a school district that is right in the backyard of the school that is interested in buying the school. We don't even have a shot at this unless they turn it down, right? Because you guys
No,
are way
not
further ahead.
necessarily. No, no.
Well, true, okay, so.
Did you see my superintendent's?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, not farther, but you guys are way farther along in the process, is my point.
Yeah, yes.
Of our own process, yes.
Yes.
And Lincoln Way North is not move-in ready.
It is
We
not
make that
turnkey ready.
perfectly clear.
No.
All right, and so I just want to be mindful of time. It is 5:40, so I know time is ticking. But to that point, that is true, and that's what we want to see. It's all about community keeping community. It's not about, we have some more people coming in. You got someone here to sit down? It's not about one or the other. It's not about, and we really want to dissolve that. And the whole purpose of this is to continue to educate our community. And we want to dissolve it. It's not anything. I know there's rumors on Facebook, and Facebook can be toxic. I ran in the election this year, and sometimes you gotta turn it off and unplug because you'll get sick just reading all of the negative commentary. It has nothing to do with race. It has all to do with that community continue to do what they're doing very well and making our community go as well and try to turn it around. Because if anybody knows, in Park Forest, we have had the same mayor for 20 years. This year, Mayor Osterberg retired as the mayor of Park Forest. We have a new mayor, we have new leadership, we have new people coming to the forefront. And this is a time that we can change things if we all work together. But it's going to have to continue to be constant conversation. Mayor Vanderbilt, did you have something else?
So what we need to do tonight is we need to get some members who are willing to step up and who are willing to become of a committee that we can officially submit to ISDE that would be looking into the consolidation and unification of school districts for our area. We also need to get 4 board members who support our community and the idea of having a community school. So that is also very important that we start talking to our board members, that we start going to school district meetings as a community. And so that's what we can do to kind of answer the question. We got another question here?
Not so much a question as some information. When my family moved out this way, my students are graduates of Rich East High School. That was back in the early 80s. And I beg to differ with a statement that randomly says race has nothing to do with it. Race has everything to do with everything in America. It's just a fact. And by not facing that fact, we do some other things. But in this particular case, if we talk about what we can do with schools, if we're talking about unifying a district, we have 162 that needs to be here. And we have any of the other districts that are currently receiver for 227. So there needs to be a large organizing piece that is inclusive of all of those communities, because we need to hear the voice of all of those communities. And what they think about what we then present as researchers to research this situation. The first thing we have to do is we have to stop the forward progression of what 227 is proposing, because we don't have enough facts. We just have plans that came from where? Regarding who, what? None of us were involved in that plan making. So, being very sensitive that we're a very diverse group. We're going to respect that in everyone. We're going to recognize what race does in all of this, the lens of race. And we're going to do this with eyes wide open, ears wide open. We must. Because we do have more than just Park Forest involved in this. Okay.
Again, real quick, we're going to let the news media person speak. If you have questions, we're going to hold them until the next presentation. They are ready to set up and come in, so we're going to let the news media have the last say.
I have one question. I'm Jerry Schnee. I'm a newcomer to Park Forest, moved in here 1964. I have a question for the gentleman from who wants to set up the unit school district. If Lincoln Way North is completely stripped, how much money will it take you to revamp the entire school? And how will you get that money?
I think he's talking to Steve.
Say that question one more time.
Okay, you say Lincoln Way North is completely stripped.
Yeah.
It has to be rebuilt from the inside out.
Oh, okay. Lockers, fixtures. It was basically used for parts of the other three schools.
All right.
It took out door jams and fire preventive.
So it's going to cost you a lot of money to rehab that school.
We understand that.
Okay? And that's going to be, you're going to fit bond issues to go in there?
We'll have the capacity to borrow more money, yes, but we will be combining our taxes for 161 and 210 money will be coming to 161 as well. So we'll have plenty of financing in order to get those bonds. And remember, when I said when you become a CUSD, your ability to borrow doubles. So you will have the capacity to borrow.
So do you have to go through a referendum to the
We will have to go through a referendum because of what we're doing.
But you also have to go through state legislation?
No.
There's no need to go through state legislation.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, thank you guys for coming out. I want to thank you, Jameer Atkins, our Booster Club president, for spearheading this. Thank you, Mayor Vanderbilt. We put our hands together. Thank you, Jameer Atkins, for the spearhead. Thank you, Mayor Vanderbilt. Also, we have the board members of 163 that's here. So we have our superintendent, assistant superintendents, we have our business manager, and we have another board member here, Ms. McCray. We can put our hands together for them as well, too.
All right, I just want a point of clarity for everyone. I know we're throwing around 161, 161. This is actually a pact that has been formed to Holly's point. And what is that pact called? Concerned Citizens?
Citizens for Summit Hill Excellence.
Citizens for Summit Hill Excellence, who has spearheaded the initiative. And so that goes back into correlation where we said, once a school district deems that they want to look into this option, you form a pact. The pact is where we will get all the legal money, all of those different funds together, and then we will follow the necessary processes that the state gives us and provide the information. So we thank you for coming out. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to educate you. And at this time, we'll turn it over to Dr. Evans and Dr. Thomas and the administrative team for 227 to share the 6 options for this evening. Thank you for your time.
I just want to say this too, if anyone that's staying, we're asking if you can go back and sign in the district office. Sorry, say that again. she'll pass it around. I do want to make one last statement. We got to understand that we have to look at this from a social and emotional standpoint too. The only thing that I'm hearing in this building is taxes, taxes, taxes. We're not, who's thinking about the kids? Putting the kids into one building, the sports aspect, statistics state, when a child is involved with sports and activities, they excel more in the classroom. We have to broaden our horizon and not just think of it from a structural or a tax standpoint too. Who's concerned with the kids? We got to be about the kids, right? That's got to be the number one concern. And I also want to state this, as our 227 administrators come in the building, please, we're not using this to attack them. You might disagree with their politics or policies or procedures, but as a people, as a person, we have to understand they're entitled to their decisions. They were elected. We as the people have to hold them accountable, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to fight to keep our community schools open. Thank you guys.
All right, you got one. There are washrooms. If you got a washroom, there are some washrooms directly out the door. If you want, we got a few minutes break until they start. So you want to go to the washroom? Washrooms are over to the same time. I'll be on this side of the building.
I won't. I have a drink. It's mine. I won't let go. I may like ravage through it. But again.
You can hear me, raise your hand. I'm looking for hands. Okay, all right. First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us this evening. Before I start, I know that there are several board members in the room, so before I begin the presentation, I at least wanted to acknowledge their presence. I know I saw President Randy Alexander somewhere around in the room. If you can kind of wave, he's right here. It's okay to clap for him. It's okay to clap for him. Cheryl Coleman, Vice President of the Board, Andrea Bonds, and Board Member Dolores Woods. Did I miss anybody? Did I not see anybody? I'd like to also thank the Mayor of Park Forest for joining us today. Thank you for being here. We truly appreciate your presence. Are there any trustees in the room that I'm missing? If you can stand, can we just give them a round of applause for joining us as well? All right. I just want to make sure that we get started. We have you scheduled from 6 to 7. At the end of the presentation, I always make myself available. Dr. Evans always makes herself available for any questions that you may have in addition to the discussions that we have. Just a few clarifying remarks. This for us is for informational purposes only. We're gathering information. That's why it's important that you have one of our laptops, because your voice is being heard into the discussion. So we're encouraging people to really take a hold and grab one of those laptops so that every voice is heard as it relates to these options and what we're trying to do with our facilities. So if you don't have one, please make sure you raise your hand, because I want to make sure we capture every voice. As stated in every meeting that we've been in, I know that there's a lot of people that are saying that a decision has been made. There has not been a decision made. In fact, we are still in the information gathering phases. We're having discussions with the community, and the board's going to use that information to inform anything that they decide to do moving forward. So no decision has been made on any school or any facility. What we're pointing out is what the needs are, where we're currently headed, and the need to at some point have to make a decision based on where we are.
And so I just want to make sure that that piece is clarified. Also, there is a lot of rumor in there, and I know a lot of people have tried to grab FOIAs to show that we've been in negotiations with another school district. That is false. There is nothing available. We have not negotiated with any other school district. We have not made a formal offer on any other property or anything like that. And so I want to make sure I dispel all of that as we begin to go in and discuss this process, because I need input. I need your feedback, and it needs to be from an unbiased standpoint based on what you feel is in the best interest of the kids for this district. All right, so we have been on this journey for about 6 or 7 months now, starting in about January, in really doing our research, our homework about where we're headed. A lot of information out there has said that the district needs to make a decision because it's in crisis. I want to make sure you all hear it from me. We are not in crisis. But what I want you to understand is, if we don't make a decision in the future, in the near future, we could possibly end up in a crisis. So we need to make sure, at least from our standpoint, that we are transparent and sharing the information so that you all are aware of the issues that we're dealing with and can give us feedback and input on what we should be doing next. All right? So to start that out, we worked hard to pull a demographic study. The demographic study was done in partnership with District 227 and all of our feeder districts. So it takes into account the population coming into us over the next several years. We also worked to do a facilities report, and we're going to go over a little bit of that here in the next few slides. But that facility report was done by an outside engineering firm, EMG. They came in and they looked at every nook and cranny of every building. They went into every space, they checked every doorknob. They really went in to give us some insight on what type of needs our buildings, our capital assets have. And so we worked hard to pull that information. We then took that facilities report and we turned it over to our architects and our construction partner. Architects are STR, our construction partners are Pepper Construction, and they then went through and combed through and gave us estimates on what it was going to take to do repairs to fix what was found by the engineering firm. And so the information was triangulated between those three partners to give us good information about where our facilities are. From there, we worked to put our budget forecast together, looking at where we were in the past and looking where we're headed in the future. The budget information that you'll see here is it is if we do nothing, it is where we're going to be. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. We are not in a crisis. I want to make sure that that is also explained clearly. After we pulled that information together and shared it with the Board of Education, the board asked us to hold several community forums. One was here, where we talked about the state of our facilities, our demographics, and we talked about our budget forecast. And we gathered information from individuals like yourselves in a very similar way. Once we did that over a period of time, we then went back to the board and reported out on what was said at those forums. From there, the board asked us to develop several options based on the feedback that we got. And then once we presented the options to the Board of Education, their immediate response was, you need to go out into the community and gather information and input about those options. That's where we are right now. So how this is going to work is, we're going to go over the presentation. We're going to ask you a question. You're going to go in and answer that question in terms of the options, and give us any feedback and input that you need to give us. It's important that we get every individual's voice. After we give you a period of time to do that, then we'll open it up for questions, discussion to hear exactly where you are and have a time to take some questions. Okay? So as I talked earlier, this was the data that was shared with our enrollment projections. And as you can see, our enrollment projections kind of level out at about 2,300 students for the foreseeable future. If you think back maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the district not too long ago was at 4,000 students. Now it's early in the registration process, and we know that we really have to do some pushing here coming up in August. But if you have families and you know that families are out there, we need to encourage them to get in and get registered because it affects our accounts. And right now our accounts are extremely low. And we know it's early in the summer and we know people are on vacation. But I just want to make sure as we continue to look at our demographic study, which lays it out in trends, there's a worst case scenario, Series A. There is, if everything is consistent, Series B. And then there is, if there's market improvement, Series C. So it gives you 3 series of numbers to look at in that report. All these reports are available on the home page of the district website under facility reports. They're all there. They're all there, recently or not, they're all there. So I just want to make sure that as we talk about these, you can pull these reports up and you can take a look at them yourself. The important piece that I want to point out is, as we look at our trends over the last few years, we're trending at Series A, which is the worst case scenario. And the way our registration process is going now, it's looking like we will continue to trend towards Series A, which is the lowest of the enrollment numbers. From there, we begin to take a look at our facilities. So we have low enrollment and we have facility needs, repairs, significant repairs that are needed in every one of our buildings. And we try to lay out those repairs at 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and then 11 to 20 years. But as you know, as you get further out to 20 years, those 0 to 5 year repairs are now needed again. So you're talking about a pretty expensive cycle here as it relates to the data. But the information up here as presented, this is Rich Central. The replacement cost for Rich Central is about $40 million. The repair cost, just in repairs, we're looking at about $39 million in repairs. That's not adding a field house. That's not bringing 21st century science labs. That's fixing our roofs. That's trying to address some of the other issues of pavement, other issues that are of health, life safety needs, things of that nature. They're just repairs. At Rich East, we have a $42 million roughly replacement cost, and we have $59 million, almost $60 million in repairs that are needed. Once again, those are just straight repairs. Those numbers again are laid out in that 0 to 5, 6 to 10, and 11 to 20 year ranges. Rich South, they roughly have a replacement cost of $42 million, and they have about $32 million in repairs. So then understanding those numbers and then taking a look at where we're forecast, as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we balanced the budget year one. We presented a balanced budget to the board. We anticipate that we will close out this school year with a balanced budget. But as you can see, those balances begin to become more and more difficult to manage.
They started, and this is if there is no changes. If we can keep everything consistent as it is with our enrollment dropping. A lot of you probably don't know, but a lot of a huge chunk of our state funding is predicated on enrollment, how many students we have. As we get to year 2022 and 2023, we begin to become in crisis. That's when the crisis years are predicted to be hit, if we do nothing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to present the information in a very transparent way to get feedback, to have you understand where the district is headed and what we're faced with. We have declining enrollment. We have facilities that are in pretty rough condition, and a lot of our state funding is tied to our enrollment. So we're losing revenue as we continue to move forward. So as I mentioned earlier, we started this timeline around December 11th, and we went through January 11th with these very similar type of discussions. We talked to students, we involved staff, we had parent community forums that went all the way until January 10th. And then we sent out additional emails to families asking them to give us input from January 12th to January 13th. And then we took that information and we presented it to the board. And from that, we got a summary of results from those surveys. The surveys talked about consolidating campuses, closing one of the schools. It talked about really paying attention to our enrollment data. And it also discussed making sure that the board understands that they need to be transparent in their decision-making process. Once again, there is no decision. No decision has been made. We need your input, and that's why we're here today. So from there, the board asked us to create the options, and then wanted us to share those options out with cost as it relates to building and consolidating, and also its impact on the taxpayers. So with that information, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Evans.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. So we were asked to provide options for consideration. And so there are 6 options that are behind me. Option 1 is to do repairs to all 3 buildings, no upgrades. Option 2 is to do repairs and upgrades. Option 3 has 3 options because we're going to consolidate 2 schools into, and then have 2 schools left in all of the option 3s. We looked at the combination of the 2 schools that will be remaining. In option 4, we would get down to 1 school where we would house the entire student body. We would build a new school. It would house 3,000 students. And then in option 5, there will be 2 schools remaining because we would build 1 school that houses 2,000 students. We would keep 1 existing school and renovate it. And then in option 6, we would purchase a school and then renovate partially 1 school. So we would have 2 schools left in the district. So now I'm going to go into the details for each option. When we look at each option, I'm going to provide some information for you so that you can consider those options. First is going to be the cost estimates for each option. Next will be the timeline for the completion of that particular option. Then I will talk about financing for each option. And then I want to state that for all of the options, your property taxes will remain the same as it relates to what we're doing for 2 years. So when we talk about, on the financing side, legislation, just wanted to let you know that the district is only allowed to have a certain amount of debt. And so if we exceed our debt limits, we have to ask for permission to do that. And that would require a legislative change for our district. That would be step one. Step two would then be to ask for your permission to raise your taxes, which is a referendum question on the ballot. And then I will have you take a look at what the percentage increases in your overall property tax would be. Option one is the option where we just do repairs to all 3 buildings, no upgrades. The cost for that is by school for the construction and then the other costs related. The total for this is $169 million. It would take place over the summer of 2021 to 2027. This will require a change in legislation, also a referendum question. The increase in overall property taxes would be 3%. The Rich Township portion would be 9%. And the overall bond amount would be 109%. So just so that you can understand what that means in terms of dollars for you, I did choose or looked into a property in Richton Park that has a value of $160,000, whose current tax bill is $7,490. So in all of the examples, I will tell you what the percentage, what the dollar increase is for that particular property. So for option one, the increase for that property would be $239. Option two would be to repair all 3 facilities and upgrade them. This option is $399 million, takes place over the same time period as the last option. This also requires a change in legislation, a referendum question, percentage increases, 15% for property tax bills, 41% for the rich portion, and for that property in Richton Park, the dollar increase would be $1,132. May I finish first? Thank you. I don't have any hard force property. May I finish, please? Then you can ask your question. Option 3 has 3 options. It has 3 options because we will be demolishing 1 school and consolidating to 2 schools. So there will be 2 schools left in the district. The first option, south is demolished and central and east are retained. And that total is $285 million. And the timeline is the same with the other options. In option 2, east is demolished, south and central are retained. The timeline is the same. It's $241 million. In option 3C, central is demolished and east and south are retained. Timeline is the same, and it's $282 million. All of these options will require a change in legislation. Also, would require a referendum question. And for that property, it would be for option 3A, will be $689 increase. For the next option, it'll be $521 increase, and then for the final option, it'll be an additional $676. And option number 4, this is where we build one facility on an existing site, and we demolish the other 2 schools. This will happen during the summer of 2021 to 2025. The total cost would be $369 million. It would require a change in legislation and a referendum question. And the overall increase in property taxes will be 14%. For individual taxpayers, our portion would be 37%. And the bond amount would increase to 458%. And for that property, it would be $1,006. Option number 5 would be to build one new facility housing 2,000 students to retain South in this example, because it is the one that is the least expensive to renovate, and house 1,000 students at that campus. This will happen over the summer of 2021 to 2025. The bill for that is $288 million. And the increase in the tax bill is $698. Final option, option number 6. Oh, sorry. This will require a change in legislation and a referendum question on the ballot with a 10% increase in overall property tax bill. Option 6 would be to purchase a new facility or purchase a facility, partially renovate one of our existing, which would be South in this sample, this example as well. And it would have a cost of $105.6 million. This would happen until 2023. And that property tax bill would have an increase of $79. This would not require a change in legislation. The way we would fund this is to first do a lease purchase and then an outright purchase. Then we would do a funded bond and working cash bond. Also, the first 2 years would remain the same as it relates to what we're doing for construction. The overall increase in the property tax bill would be 1%. The rich portion 3%, and the bond amount 32%. This is a summary of the information that you already have. Now, the reason why we are here is to participate in Thought Exchange, and the Thought Exchange is another piece of data that we will use to help inform the Board of Education about your thoughts relating to these options. So when you are completing the Thought Exchange, I want you to consider the following question. Of the options presented, which is the most favorable and why? And please indicate the option number when you're doing your Thought Exchange information. Some things to keep in mind is to always, you have the opportunity to go in between now and July 11th to add more thoughts or to star or rank other thoughts. You can go on our website for the Thought Exchange link, or you can go directly to Thought Exchange, but you will need that number behind it. And the Thought Exchange will be open through July 11th.
Just a couple of things that I do want to add. I don't know if it was clearly articulated, but in option 6, the only available facility for us to purchase is Lincoln Way North. So I want to make sure that, as you understand it, that is option 6. So I want to make sure that that's very transparent and clear in terms of where you are with your thoughts. We want to give you now about 10 to 15 minutes to put your thoughts into the thought exchange, and then you're going to go through and you're going to look at what other people have said, because this is our 3rd forum. We've been in a couple of other places, so you can actually see what other people are saying in the thought exchange. And then you're going to have an opportunity to star ideas that you agree with. That's a very important part of the process for us. I know that there is questions about transportation and other things. You know, for us to be able to ferret out every single one of the operating kind of expenses, it is a very difficult task. We need this list kind of truncated so that we then can focus on what exactly staffing patterns and transportation, things of that nature look like. I do want to make sure that I'm also transparent in having everybody here know that roughly about 65 or so, about 63% of our students already are transported to school. Those numbers vary from building to building, but overall, the majority of our kids are already transported to school. So we would see some increase in cost, but just know we already transport the majority of our, the slight majority of our kids already. So I just want to make sure that's clear. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of do that. The reason we do this is because I want your individual thoughts. And then we're going to open it up for discussion as soon as we give you enough time to collect that information from you. If you're having trouble with the thought exchange, please raise your hand. We'll make sure somebody gets around and can help you out.
They come from a construction team who understands the cost of construction. They're not that bad.
And who's the construction team?
Pepper Construction.
Okay, so, all right, so there's no chance they're increasing the prices and that another company would come in at a lower bid.
It's possible. You never know what you get when you get it out.
Okay.
You'll have to bid. You never know. I can't say it. I can't say it the other way.
Okay. And my other question was, what about your life safety funds? Have those been utilized?
We have a couple of years of health life safety funds. We're actually in the construction pipeline. We've been there since 2005.
There are days I miss it, and there are days I miss celebration. No, I got sick a few times. I did it over again. Okay. But I love it. They're divided. You don't have an open dialogue here. So.
No. Oh, well, they don't want that.
I know.
It is and how much we think it's worth.
So no appraisal's been done, official appraisal has been done by you guys?
We've done our homework to know where we are.
Well, what does that mean? You've done your
So you haven't done an appraisal on the building itself?
We roughly know how much. We roughly have a good idea.
So you had communication with 210 then to know what it's worth?
Nobody said we never had communication. We've never negotiated price.
Right, so where is the communication? Because I even quoted it from your own school and I was told there's none.
So I have to send an email and talk to somebody. Go over and say, hey, can I take a look at what's going on? I don't have to send an email. 4 years ago.
So they just gave you the appraisal amount verbally. There was nothing in an email or in writing at all.
We can get an appraisal from them. They didn't give us money.
What was that?
They didn't give us an appraisal.
He doesn't want to get too close.
They didn't give us an appraisal.
Right, but you said they told you what the amount is.
No, we've done our own estimate in terms of doing square footage, what the building is. We have our own.
Okay.
Can we say?
Raise your hand. you can hear me, raise your hand. If you can hear me, raise your hand. A couple of questions that were asked of me as I was kind of walking around one question was the percentage of students who are transported that was broken down by school. Central has 90% of their kids transported. Rich East, 26%. Rich South, 56%. So there's a total of 1,768 students that are transported throughout the district.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the transportation. I have a problem with how far it is.
Yeah, that piece you can communicate. We'll talk about that here right now. The other piece that was asked was about the tax dollars and where those tax dollars go if a building is outside of the boundaries of the district. The district would work if that's the option chosen. I continue to say that. If that's the option chosen, the district would annex that school into Rich 227. It becomes property of 227. No taxpayer money goes to any other community but the communities, the district that we serve. So it all stays here. The only money that would go to a different district are the funds to purchase the building. That would be it. All right, let me open it up to questions.
When would the property issue a bond, when would it end? I think that was one of the options. How long would the bond last?
By the bonds, she asked if bonds were issued, how long do they last? They usually are around 30 years.
20 years.
I'm just curious if there's been appraisals on Ridge Central or Ridge East and what the appraised value or market values are. And I didn't see in any of those plans any sort of income piece in terms of what the stranded assets, what the plan was, if we're going to sell them, here's the value. There's no income analysis in those options that I saw.
Yeah, just kind of move around these questions. So I'll let Dr. Evans answer.
The facility reports, that is where the values are inside those reports. So there's one for each state. So there was a slide that showed the replacement costs and the repair costs. So the value would be the replacement cost in today's.
No, that's not an appraisal. Not an appraisal. No, not an appraisal. Not an appraisal.
So you're asking if a formal appraisal has been done on the building?
That's what I asked.
Yes, we do know the value of those buildings based on current marketplaces. Those replacement cost numbers are the value of those schools.
That's not an appraisal.
Yeah, they are. The replacement costs, correct. So if we were to sell those schools, those would be the marketing costs that would set kind of where we are. Now, can we get that kind of funds for the facilities and the disrepair that they're in? That's a different kind of discussion, but we do understand the market piece. I'm going to go here and here.
So with the options that you gave, the option number 1 of repairs only, no upgrades, that is the total amount per the slide, which I gave up my computer. That was the total amount for over 20 years. So if we're going to actually compare apples to apples, then none of these new facilities and none of these other options are including any long-term repairs and maintenance over the same 20-year period that you were quoting $169 million for.
That's actually, they all are spread out over time. As we went through and we showed each of the repair costs for each building, they're spread out over a 20-year period. So they're actually, and so purchasing a building is actually a lot quicker. There are things that kind of escalate that timeline. That's why the timelines look a little bit different.
She talked about tax, she
said a rich portion would be 9%. What does that mean?
So in your property taxes, you're paying different municipalities in your property taxes. And there's a portion designated for Rich Township 227 in your property taxes.
We're all in Rich Township.
No, but I'm sorry, I didn't know what it was. So when you look at your tax bill, you have a school, the high school, you have the elementary school, you probably have some libraries, some park districts. So the portion of your tax bill for the rich portion will increase by those percentages.
The high school.
High school.
Or your high school.
Yes.
Over there.
I'd just like to say, I think this is a very flawed process. It's too much information in too short a period of time. But the point I want to make as it pertains to option number 6, there was a meeting here earlier where there was a group of residents of Lincoln Way that wants to use that building. Are we in competition with them to obtain this building and send our kids over to their neighborhood when their kids can't go to that school and we can send our kids over there?
Thank you.
I think this is a waste of time, and I don't think it's very appropriate. I don't think it's respectful. I think it's a waste of time, really, and we need to address building a school in our community.
Yes.
We don't need their school, and we don't need to follow after their superintendent.
That's right.
Thank you for those comments. I hope you put those into the thought exchange because that thought would have received a lot of stars, it sounded like. And so that's a part of what this is about, getting input from all of you. And so that's a piece that I'm really, really happy about. I'm gonna go right here.
Good evening, everyone. I think let's just be civil and respectful to one another. This is a very sensitive issue. I understand that, but let's be respectful and speak so we can all hear each other. What I wanted to suggest is this. Of all these options, it says in here we can upgrade and repair. Have we thought of maybe seeking funds, going to foundations to ask for help? Maybe write people like Tyler Perry, he has a foundation, he's into education, and ask for some funding. Going to foundations. The governor of Pritzker has a foundation. It's not going to come from him as a governor because he has to be neutral. But we can ask for help from all these wealthy individuals for funding to help. And probably, like they do in colleges, when they build a building, you can say, let me Tyler Perry building or Pritzker building, and they can fund that building. So that's another way to look for options in funding so we can keep our schools in our district and, like parents are concerned, don't send them somewhere else.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I have 3 questions.
She's had a question up for, she's had her hand up for a long time.
I have 3 questions. My first question is that we're in an information period now, but can we have some assurances that the information period isn't going to last 1 or 2 months and board actions can all of a sudden take place within a couple of months?
This board has been very thoughtful in trying to gather information. I think for a lot of people, it is somewhat kind of foreign that they're just used to kind of action being taken. They are working hard to gather information, hear your input. That's why so many of them are here today. They want to make sure that as they move forward, that they have the information they need to make that decision. And we can't do anything in terms of posting and things of that nature about any major decisions such as this without making sure that we're very transparent. The board is committed to being very transparent. And so I think we still have some work to do. And like I said, when I started, this is an opportunity for us to get input into where we're headed, what we're doing, so that we're not reacting down the road, we're being proactive.
What's an estimation when the board will take action? An estimated time?
The board, that would mean that they've had some discussion about actually taking action on something and they haven't gotten to that point yet.
So
So, okay.
So I can't even give you a timeline.
All right, my second question would be, is if I was inclined to make a choice about saving Ritz South and building a new school, well, where would that new school be built? It wasn't listed, and I don't know it, so the list is incomplete. So where would this new school be built?
I think in the presentation, she talked about any new school or any school that we would build would be on existing property.
I understand that, but which existing property?
Once again, that gets to us already have made a decision, and we haven't gotten down the road that far.
Well, if you want me to make a decision on an option, that seems to be a real important thing to know, is where this new school is built. Otherwise, the list is incomplete.
Thank you.
The list is incomplete. My thought, and so if the list is incomplete, we don't know where this new school will be built, how can you get reasonable input from us about the options?
Well, I think I've gotten some really good input about the Lincoln Way piece. I think I've heard that now and clear.
One more question. My last question is I didn't see any transportation costs on our students, on how long a student from Ritchie's would get in the bus, and how long he or she would be on that bus during the day to and from that school. And then the human cost. We saw a lot of dollars and figures. We just want to see that cost on the list. Why not?
The reason we didn't include those types of costs is, once again, I wanted to make sure we guarded against people thinking we've already decided what we're going to do. And so we wanted to make sure that the board hears where people are with these options, and if they have us, has sent something out with more information on a smaller list of options, we can do that work to get down deeper into how much staff we need, what the operating expenses would be then. Right now, it's just facility repair costs. I'm going to come over. Okay, never mind.
Hi, I just had two questions. My first question is, as far as selling the property or closing the property, how many of the properties that have already been closed in Park Forest have either bought out, and are there any prospects of people coming in that say that they want this property? Because I don't want another empty, unusable, unsellable building that's just sitting here empty.
We have not put anything out about selling the building or closing. We haven't done any of that. And that's the piece. Like I said, a lot of people have already making the assumption that a decision has been made. I think we're still in the information gathering phase.
Okay, I'm not making an assumption that the decision has been made, but I would like to just put out there that if that is an option, we really need to take into account the usability of the building, because if we can't even use it ourselves, what makes you think another person from another community is going to come out and want to take it?
See, they didn't put the slide on that said 19. It said summer 19.
Go ahead.
My question is, we have 6 options, but aren't there more options? What about allowing our high school to consolidate with our case to make a K-12 district? Is that why we have an option?
That could be an option. I mean, that would be one of the things that you could put onto the thought exchange, and if a lot of people agree with that option, that would be something that we would have to take a look at. But no one's saying that can't be an option.
You mentioned about the increase in taxes, and I was just wondering, is that like for the 5 years, or is that indefinitely? You didn't really give a timeline on those increases.
Forever. It will be forever.
Oh, forever? Just always, it would always?
Always until the debt is paid.
It would stay.
I'm just wondering, all this looks like it's all great about the financial aspect. What about our students? I mean, if we start consolidating these students don't get along with these different schools. And there's gang issues in some of the schools that, we don't want integrated into the other schools. So there's a lot more issue as far as consolidation, as far as putting these students together, than just the financial aspect of it. We want to keep our kids safe. Rich East seems to have a history of being a good school and the best school in the district. And why are we throwing considering throwing that issue away just financially.
I think,
It's not always about the money. Let's for once think about what it's going to do to our children. Here's my daughter. Does she have to give up her time to come tonight? She wants to know what her future is going to be. She wants her future at Rich East. She doesn't want to go to South. She doesn't want to go to Central. And she has said, if this school closes, I will not step foot in another school. I will do homeschooling again.
thank you.
Now, what good is that for kids?
Thank you. I think as this isn't an easy discussion. You know, we have taken opportunities to talk to our kids. We talk to them about the rodents that they have to deal with in the schools, the rain drops falling on their heads from the ceilings. We talk to them about the smells and things of that nature coming from. So the need to improve our facilities, either fixing them all or consolidating, it is all about them because they deserve an environment that is conducive for learning. And so it isn't negating the children in this discussion. I think everyone cares about all children. I think what we have to do is just try to find some common ground so that they can get the environments that they deserve.
I just want to talk about transparency. You talked about how you want to be transparent, how you want to be transparent, and actions speak louder than words. The first community session was December 18th. Who in December 18th is going to come to a meeting at 1 o'clock? All of those meetings were 1 o'clock. I came pissed off, if that's right, and said, if you really wanted to be transparent, you would have evening meetings, and you would have weekend meetings. So I acknowledge and thank you for scheduling evening meetings and adding at the last minute a weekend meeting. At that time, you did a video that had the slideshow and was online with the thought exchange. That's what got me through the door. Why isn't that backed up? This thought exchange is not transparent. 90 characters is bullshit. 2 comments is bullshit. Anybody agree? Yep. This is not designed to be transparent. I cannot scroll through and even read all these comments easily. This is not transparent. If you want it to be transparent, please talk to who designed this thought exchange. Add more characters for the love of God. We don't have enough information to make any of these decisions. And talking about them, this is pointless. This is asinine.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment.
And you bus kids, you know what it costs to bus kids. You could have come up with a guesstimate. This is ridiculous. Slow down. Why does the same acquisition date on Lincoln Way in 2019? Personally, I think this is a distraction. I think this is, we need to increase taxes. We're going to get the community all riled up about the possibility of something that's never going to happen as far as the complexity of busing kids into Will County and taking money out of Cook County's pocket and putting it into Will. Or an annexation. When there's a community that wants that building. This is bullshit political
I'm going to ask you to please, there are children in here. Please watch your mouth.
I'm sorry.
But there are children in here. And it is, like I said, it is about them. And we have to be very respectful. Please, I'm going to ask you to please respect the children and the families that are here. As I said earlier, no money in any way, in any of these processes goes to any other county. It goes to Rich Township High School District 227. So I just want to make sure that that is clear as well. All right, I'm going to take a couple of more questions, and then we're going to wrap up.
My name is Komam Yofu. I've been in Rich Township for 25 years. And I can tell everybody here tonight that this is not about children. This whole presentation was not presented by this superintendent and by this lady here. The movers and shakers, the people who have paid people underneath the table to shove this down our throats, that's who's behind this. You don't, anytime you spend public money, even the United States Congress, it has to go through the Appropriations Committee. Anytime they give you all these lists and say all of them requires your approval, except the one that we want at the bottom dome, that lets you know the fix is in. Secondly, if indeed it is about children, I sat in this same auditorium almost 8 years ago when this same board, different members, shoved a superintendent down our throat because she paid enough money to the movers and shakers. And they opened it up and said, well, we want to know what you guys think. And after they got all these comments and the community overwhelmingly rejected this superintendent, they voted to hire her anyway. Why? Because the money had already been paid and the movers and shakers had decided. Anytime you talk about busing 3,000 black kids into Frankfurt, you might as well talk about busing them to Selma, Alabama or Jackson, Mississippi. Because I've read the comments over in Frankfurt. I just talked to a lady tonight. They are not racist because they don't want black kids there. They don't want that possibility of racial violence and tension in their community when they have people in that community who want that same building, which, mind you, District 161 wants that building, and they pay for a feasibility study to get that building. This is being shoved down black people's throats with these 7 black members on our school board who are all bought and paid for, and I hope that just when they get through with work, I hope they march every last one of them into jail.
Ooh, right. I want to say something real quick. Number one, I do know some of them personally. I handed that way afterwards. Some of the board I helped during their election. And I'm pretty okay with, I gotta say it, I'm pretty okay with most of the board members. But I will say this to the community of Park Forest that's here. If any of those board members vote to close Richie's, I'm going to apologize to you because I helped on their campaign. And I'm saying it to you guys. You're hearing what the community wants. If you're saying that it comes down to what the community wants and it's really what you want, you're seeing and you're hearing it. We do not want our school closed. That's where the support, that's where the vote, that's where that should go. I respect and I honor and I admire most of you guys on that board, and Dr. Thomas as well too. I know he's about children, and I want to continue to keep saying this. Let's stop throwing daggers, because again, they're talking, let them talk. But again, you have to hear the community. We do not want Richie's closed, and we're not supporting any elected officials that's looking to close our community schools. That is a fact. So I say this, and this is not because I'm not one to do that, because you know that I'm friends with a lot of you on that board. But you're not going to win another election for Park Forest, I can promise you that. You're not going to get votes again for Park Forest, I can promise you that. If I have to rally around that myself, that's a fact.
Okay, I got my last 2 comments here and then we'll close out. Last 2 over here.
Thank you. One thing I know about Park Forest, and this is before I ever even moved here, Park Forest loves Richie's. They want to keep Richie's. And as far back as I can remember, there's always been talks of threats of, oh, they're going to close Richie's, they're going to close Richie's. So my question is, looking at the PowerPoint, it's expensive to repair and upgrade Richie's. What efforts have you taken to find ways to mitigate those costs for the community, the property taxpayers, the businesses within the 227 boundary? One idea I came up with was to see about seeking National Historic Landmark status for Rich East. And in that way, we can possibly tap into federal funds, federal grants, low-income tax incentives, as well as state grants and tax incentives that may help mitigate the cost of the repairs to the school. And I know for a fact that Bloom High School has that standing. And I think that with the rich history of Park Forest being an original GI town, Rich East being the first school in 227, this is definitely something that needs to be looked into to see if this can help make options 1 or 2 a possibility and something that won't hurt the taxpayers. Because our property taxes are very high, very high. And even though 227 is the lowest tax-paying school body on my tax bill, for it to go up, that creates a hardship. That makes I mean, I've heard people who have been moving, who wanted to buy a house in Park Forest, say it was all okay until they saw how much the taxes would be, and then the mortgage company didn't want to fund it. So in Park Forest and other communities in 227, that's a real problem. And if you're talking depopulation, what happens when another depopulation happens because the taxes have gone up to the point where people can no longer afford them, they're losing their homes. We don't have business in Park Forest to sustain Park Forest schools. We work together with the entire Rich Township schools to be able to fund these schools. So my thing is, we need to think of creative, out-of-the-box ways to find funding to make these projects to upgrade and repair the schools for reality.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. And we'll make sure we get your information before we leave. We have one more over here.
Hi. So, I have a question about the Lincoln Way North School. Now, you talk about having an annex that. Are you just talking about annexing school property, or are you talking about annexing also all the homes and businesses?
It would just be the school property.
Okay. Just more of a valid point about the high taxes in this area. We all know home values in this town aren't that high. In most cases, under $100,000, pay about 32% on our tax bill for everything. The way I look at it is this: I'd rather see the school kept open, because if you shut the school down, that plummets the rest of our home values almost nothing. And what are we going to be paying? You know, are we talking about another tax increase for that? I mean, I know that the hospitals probably made quite a few offers on Central. And the second thing is too, you know, before I came to this meeting, I looked up the fiscal year 2018 administrative costs for all three campuses. You're talking, from what I remember in the report, close to $300 million. When I look at, not the teachers, because I think the teachers actually have a very difficult job, the administrative costs, and you're having board members make over $200K a year for a population that's decreasing, I think, and you're neglecting maintenance, I think that's a little ridiculous. I mean, you're putting $150 million building a maintenance cost unless it's straight to black, or very bare bone stuff.
Thank you. All right, I want to take the time to thank you all for coming. If you have a question you want to ask me, I will be here. I'm going to stay right here until everybody leaves out. I thank you all for coming in. If you can just close your laptops, we will pick those up. Once again, thank you all, and we truly appreciate your time.
Or if it's too damn hot, we'll sit inside. Don't forget, that's yours, right? Yeah, thank you. Always there. Well, you can sit at my